127, specifically out of verse 4. Everybody, or a lot of people know this verse. It's pretty popular. And it's about our little children. And it says, like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. Of a warrior. We can start off by talking about the arrows, but the truth is there's a bigger part to this, and that's what I want to focus on today. We want to have arrows, and arrows, they're already made perfect and strong. They were formed before they were in our wombs. They were, they already made perfect. But this is the interesting one. This is the part that I want to focus on. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior. King James says, in the hand of a mighty man, a strong man, a mighty man. That's the focus that I want to take on today. It's not so much the arrows as it is in the hand of a mighty man. If we want to produce, if I took a bow and arrow right now and I tried to shoot it, if I wasn't skilled in shooting it, if you can't expect your arrows, you can't expect your arrows to reach the destination you want them to. You can actually expect for people to be hurt in the process because you have no idea how to use it. And you can also, you also run the risk of your arrows breaking. If we're the mighty man, then we have to lead by example. So we can't expect, it's like if we told our children today, okay, I want you to go read your Bible and have a strong relationship with God, but then we're not that way. How can we expect them to be that way? And that's what we're doing a lot of times. We're expecting things that we can't, and I'm guilty of this too. I've seen myself, for example, we'll be at or even if we're just home, we're at home and the kids are playing and all of a sudden I hear a kid, no, the way I would talk. And then I start getting annoyed because I'm like, why are you talking like that to them? Don't talk like that to them. It's not okay. Us doing things and then not expecting them to follow that is a big thing. It's a big thing. You can't expect to do one way and then you can't do the do as I say and not as I do. That's not right. That's not fair. And not only that, but that's setting them up for failure when they get older because they won't be able to follow that because then they have their own, they get out into the world and they're like all over the place with it. But so the point of this is that we need to be the examples. We need to be, we need to be setting the example. If we want our kids to read their Bible, then we need to read our Bibles. We can't expect them to just, a lot of people want to do things through telling kids. This is something big. I've made sure to work in my life that I'm not just telling my kids something that I'm not doing myself. I'm not just telling them, don't be rude to people if I'm rude to people. I can't expect to, and I don't care what that looks like. Some parents are like, well, sometimes I yell in the car. And I'm telling you, I've been guilty of this myself. But the point is I'm working on it, and that's the point that where we should be also, anybody that's dealing with these things, it's not to bring shame to us, it's to acknowledge it and say, okay, I don't want to do that anymore because it's not helping my child, and it's not going to bring them any results, any good results. Our kids are little sponges right now, and we all know that. They're little sponges, and they're grabbing onto everything we're saying, and that's what I'm talking about right now, about them being arrows. They're arrows in our hands. We get to aim, so they're little disciples right now. We underestimate what they see and how they perceive things. They can see right past it too. So if we're telling them, go read and do this and, act this way, but we're not presenting that, they can see right past it. So it is on us to properly use those arrows and not abuse them, not mistreat them, not use them in the wrong way, not hurt them, not allow them to hurt others, teaching them and training them up. It goes back to training. It all goes back to training. But the point is, my point now is, yes, we are to be training our children, but we need to make sure that we, the trainers, are in a right position to be training our children. And that doesn't mean waiting till we're in a right position. It means going along and fixing those things that we haven't been doing right, and fixing them as we're training them. Because it will be a reflection. For example, I didn't wait around to lay hands on my children when they were sick, just because I was learning this stuff. I started laying hands on my kids, and they were seeing what that reflected, that they were seeing themselves healed, they were seeing the things come out of that. But I didn't wait around till I learned every little possible, because it's still a learning ground. We're still going to be learning throughout the whole time our children are little. We're going to be learning how to raise them. But as we should be implementing these things. We shouldn't wait till the perfect day when, everything's in perfect alignment. The kids are well, first of all, if you're waiting around for the kids to be in order, that's not how it works. It works that you get yourself in order so that your children can be in order. And so the only way that you're going to do that is if you start training yourself. If you aren't, and looking at the areas where you're working on them and making sure that those aren't areas where you're stumbling and you're going to become a stumbling block for them, because when they see you not doing it, they aren't going to be doing it. And I know that's true for my kids. I've seen that happen with my kids. We sit here and we're like, well, I'm just telling a little white lie on the phone while, I really can't get with you right now because I need to clean my blinds, and then you don't tell lies. Don't tell white lies. It's not good. That's not a good witness to these kids. And then you're going to expect them not to do that. So start checking the areas that you need to focus on as a mighty man and become strong. That word there in the King James was mighty man, and it means a strong man. So we need to be strong for our kids to be strong. Those arrows only work the proper way in the hands of a strong man, a wise man, a man who knows what he's doing. That doesn't say any man. That didn't say in the hand, like arrows in the hands of a man. No, it's specified in the hands of a mighty man, a strong man. That man knows what he's doing. So we need to be prepared. So all the things, really, honestly, that's why I'm always saying, like, these videos really aren't just for kids, like for raising our kids. It's for seeing the things in us, because I know for me, the things that I've talked about up to now, they've been true, and they've been like, I needed to check myself on where I was in these positions. Like, where did I need deliverance for something? Did I need healing for something? And I know I've needed both things, and for big things and little things alike, I've needed deliverance. So, a lot of parents are going to hear, you can deliver your children and this is not hard. But then if you're not delivered from that, for example, I know that's been true in our house where things have been happening and we're like, oh, I'm seeing this problem in my kid. But then it was us that needed the help in that area before they could get help. That we needed deliverance. And I know that sounds crazy, but you guys, I've seen this work out where we've gotten deliverance, and it's just then it just reflected on them because we're their authority, we're over them. Anything that happens to us affects them, and even if we're hiding, that's the crazy thing. A lot of people with pornography, for example. Well, I can watch pornography and it's not affecting my children. They don't see that. They don't see that I'm watching pornography. They don't have to see it. They don't have to see it. Go look at all the men that that watch pornography and see how that reflects in their family. And you might not think it's a big deal, but I know what it's like. I know my dad watched pornography, and then I was sexually abused because of it. But not only that, but then it exposes other children to that. And not only that, but then I grew up with that spirit even when it was out of my house. Because I had already been exposed to that, I grew up with this thing harassing me all my life, having problem with men, having problem with all these things. Thank God I got deliverance from it. But had I not gotten deliverance from it, then my children would be dealing with it. That's where we get these generational curses. We don't take care of these things when we have them. And sometimes we're like, well, why is my child having this problem? And if we look at ourselves, we're like, oh, I need to cut this off. So, and it was the case for me with that thing. So we can't, the whole thing about, oh, well, the kids can't see, like the kids can't see that, I eat sweets at night. That's not true, because in the morning when they see the bowl in the thing, oh, you had ice cream. I'm not joking. working. These are little dumb things, but they're not, they know. And they can catch on. They catch on when it doesn't matter, you don't have to be crying, they catch on. Their little spirits are well aware of what's going on. Just like they're well aware of I've seen how my kids are more aware of demonic things and angelic things just as much, or, aware of things that you wouldn't even have said anything in front of them. And you're like, how do they know that? That's because their little spirits are more in tune than ours are. And so they catch on to things, even if you think they're hidden, they're not hidden. They're well aware. And so you want to make sure that you're clearing out all the junk out of yourself as you're helping these kids. Obviously you want to do it the before so that they can see the reflection, but I'm just saying together, before and as you're doing it, take care of the stuff that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with pornography, if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with anxiety, are you expecting your children not to have that? That's impossible. It doesn't matter if you hide. I used to hide from my kids that I was depressed. They knew. They would act out. I remember going to a psychiatrist's office and crying because I was like, oh, I just can't deal with my kids. And I was depressed myself, and they were reflecting that. And so anything that we're dealing with, if it's depression, get help with depression. If it's anxiety, get help with anxiety. Betsy has things on depression and anxiety, and if you're dealing with cancer, Courtney has her YouTube videos. There's so many things out there to help us in these areas, including these videos, that we as parents should be living these things out first before our children. We need to become the mighty man so that our children can be strong and be arrows in our hand, and they can be a heritage to us and a reward and a blessing. And they will be, and you'll see the results of that. I see that with my own kids, the result of working this out in my life, and it's not been easy, you guys. These things are a lot harder. It's easy for us to point out to our kids, you're doing this, this, and this, and this isn't okay, and you need to follow me, and first-time obedience, and don't lie, and don't. But then when it comes to ourselves, see how hard it is. When I've been told, or I've realized, I've had a revelation of it, when God's clearly told me, oh, really, you're gonna act like this? One time God told me, no, you're not gonna sit here in self-pity. And I was like, oh, come on. But it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to deal with ourselves, but it's gonna be a reflection. So all these things that I'm talking about on these videos, it's gonna be a lot harder if we're not dealing with ourselves first, because then it's gonna be like hitting a wall once again. You're like, well, why is this not working? I prayed over my kid. I dealt with my kid in this. If you, for example, a good example of this is, if you are sitting here and you're having a kid that has a cold and then a cough and then a flu and then this and then that and tons of stuff, and then you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I heard about healing, I got the things, I really believe that I can pray for the sick and heal them, and then you go lay hands on them, and then it's been months, and you're like, okay, I've been doing this, and they still keep getting sick, and then you're like, but then you're constantly sick, and you're constantly having a problem, and and then you just need to realize that you have a spirit of infirmity that you need to be delivered from, and maybe you're inviting that thing in, maybe it's the fear, you don't know, but you need to take care of these things so that those children won't have to deal with these things. And so these are all the little things. There's nothing hidden, and there's nothing that can't be taken care of. Everything, God's got a solution for it, all right here. Everything's right here, all the solutions to all of our problems. And those things they're not easy, but then just like the verse that says, discipline isn't easy, rather painful for some time, but later on it brings a harvest of righteousness and peace. That's so true, not only for our children, but for ourselves. And you're going to see the things that I'm talking about with dealing with children will be a lot easier when you're dealing with them, when you're dealing with the things that you're dealing with first, and then able to help these kids. So this is big, you guys. I realize I should have talked about one of these. This should have been one of the first conversations, and it happened to be here now, so it's perfect timing, but this is really important. I know that I see a lot of parents that how they talk and how they carry themselves and how they act, and then they're like, oh, my child's such a brat, and my child this, and it's like, oh, really? Wonder why? and really it is, and it's not, you could get offended about this and not do anything, but that's not going to help you. You want to use this to your advantage and say, oh my gosh, this is true. I hadn't thought about that. Maybe if my child's dealing with, getting sick all the time, am I getting sick all the time? Oh my gosh, I am. Oh my gosh, maybe I have a spirit of infirmity. Or maybe I just need to not talk about sickness so much. Or maybe I just need to just lay hands on myself and start seeing this as a result in my life every time, and then I'm going to start seeing that result. Or maybe, oh, my child, they're just dressing so inappropriately, and they're conducting themselves with girls or boys in such a weird, not nice way, and then we're watching porno at home. We can't expect anything. Get deliverance from that thing, that spirit of lust, and then you're going to see a result. Like always, you guys, these are big topics. I know it's really hard to discuss them in depth each time, but if you ever need anything, any questions about my videos, any questions about, or questions that you want me, or things that you want me to discuss in another video, you can email me. My email's on the YouTube website or at jessieelia.com. This is important, and I hope that you guys, this can just remember, you want to be the mighty man.